Good evening and welcome to my channel, Redbone and Rice. I am a Redbone. Um, y'all, I didn't record last week because the topic that I have felt that I needed to talk about, I kind of hinted on during one of our previous videos, and I said it jokingly, but I'm really serious about it. So the topic I want to talk to you all tonight about is Black people need therapy. Now, I don't say that to be funny. This is a very serious situation in the Black community. We are hurting, and we don't always reach out or take advantage of resources that are available to us in our community. And I wanted to say that therapy is not a dirty word. And at the end of the day, you know, we take care of we try to take care of our spiritual health. We try to take care of our physical bodies, but we don't take care of our mental well-being because we are so busy sweeping issues under the rug. And we think if out of sight, out of mind, if nobody's, talking about it, then it's not really happening. And that's just not true. And so that's our own disillusion that we've created, or we've created our own little dysfunction. And some of that dysfunction we're born into. There's no escaping it. You don't get to choose your family. You are born into some of that that madness. So you have to make the decision as to how you're going to cope with that madness that's presented to you. So me personally, I have engaged with therapy like 3 times in my life, and currently I am seeing a therapist, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And I do that for my mental well-being. There are just some situations in life that sometimes are just hard to cope with on your own. And you need, yes, I have Jesus. And I know some people say, you just need Jesus. I have Jesus. But Jesus also, God, created resources and put things in place and people in place as resources for us. Because you know what? Jesus gave the disciples the directive to go out and make more disciples. And so that's because he knew he could do all the work if he wanted to. He didn't want to do all the work. He wanted us to help. And it's the same thing. You know, God has created resources and put people in place to help in our healing, to help with our overall well-being and growth and development. And so therapy is not a dirty word, but it is definitely it seems like a dirty word in the Black community, because as soon as, I can recount some people that I know who either were married or in relationships, and they would say to their partner, oh, honey, let's go to counseling. And the man would say, I don't need no therapy. Ain't nothing wrong with me. And I'm like, that is such a typical response, not just from a man, but just a typical response in the Black community. I can't speak to any other community because I don't know. That's a typical response in the Black community. And so there's a negative, I guess, stigma associated with therapy. And I'm like, I don't know what people are so afraid of people finding out. I remember y'all, I love my mother. I love my mother dearly. But my mother was a very secretive person. And she felt like I was too open about everything, because I don't believe in being in bondage to my feelings at all. And I just refuse to live a life of bondage. So she felt like I was too open, and that I shared too much. And I said, well, Mother, you got all these skeletons in the closet. And I'm afraid if every door I open, I'm going to get hit in the head with a bunch of skeletal bones. And so, but that's how Black people in her generation and probably previous generations dealt with things. And coped. They kept everything in the closet. I choose not to do that. And so as a result of that, we end up living beneath our privilege. And there is a minister of music that was at my church in Charlotte, and she used to always say, stop living beneath your privilege. And that is so true. When we neglect our mental well-being, we are living beneath our privilege. And again, God has put people and places, people and resources in place for us to take advantage of. That's like people who say they don't take medicine. I believe that God created the scientists that developed the medicines for me, because I don't like to be in pain and I don't like to be uncomfortable. So do I over medicate? Absolutely not. but I am going to take advantage of the resources that he's created for me. So how crazy does it seem that I would not utilize something that he's created for me, for my benefit? So in the, you know, in our community, we neglect our mental health. We take care of our spiritual stuff. We take care of our bodies, but we neglect our mental stuff. We just think we're supposed to have a hard time. We think life is supposed to be hard. That is not so. That's an absolute lie, straight from the pit of hell. I can recount, again, I see a therapist now, but I can recount 2 other instances where I began seeing a therapist. The first time was when I was engaged and my wedding was called off. Y'all remember that? I wanted to lose my mind. And I could not process why this man would call off our wedding, why what I did that was so wrong, because I kept blaming myself. Like, I kept thinking, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better? Well, you know what? There was nothing I could have done differently, because there were just some dynamics and dysfunction with that family that had nothing to do with me. But what needed to happen was I needed to figure out why I kept making the choices I was making in terms of selecting, you know, potential partners. What characteristics did I think I was getting that I ended up not getting in that person? Like, you know, I thought I was getting leadership, not. I thought I was getting a provider, not. I thought I was getting a protector, not. So you know, what was I doing? What was deficient? What was lacking in me that I couldn't make better choices? And so that's what came out in that first round of therapy for me. Basically, I didn't know what a father was because my dad left when we were really young, and we're estranged now. But I didn't know what a father was. I didn't have an example of what a father looked like. So God had to teach me after I spent intimate time with him. Even now, he continues, and we're talking 20 years ago that wedding was called off. But even now, he continues to show me what a father is and what a father should be. And he reminds me that he's all the father I need. He has everything I need. He has everything I need. He has protection. He has provision. He has leadership. He has wisdom. He has understanding. He has compassion, you know. And so I had to learn that it is possible for a father to have these things. But here's the thing. Because I didn't see those things in my earthly father, I didn't believe that Black men were capable of loving me. And I didn't know how to choose a partner. So after that first round of therapy, like I said, I came to the conclusion that, you know, or realization, God is my father and he does love me and he's never going to, you know, leave me or forsake me. He's never going to disappoint me. And even if I feel disappointed or frustrated or hurt because of something that happened, I know him well enough to know now that he is greater than my frustration. He is greater than my disappointments. He is greater than the letdowns that I may feel, you know, and he allows me to be a little girl, that little girl part of me that was denied as a child, you know, because my father wasn't there. So it helped in that sense. But here's where God took it to another level, because just because you do therapy one time, don't think you're all done with it. You got more work to do. And, you know, like Iyanla Vanzant says, you got to do the work. And so years later, and this is how God works, he doesn't get exposed or reveal everything to you at one time because he knows you couldn't handle it. And he showed me later that I had issues with my mother. Okay. How is that even possible? She's my mother. She took care of me. She provided for me. She made sure I had a roof over my head, food in my mouth, clothes to wear, that I was clean, that I had, you know, gifts at Christmas and birthdays, you know. So how was that even possible? So the Lord had to, he showed me And it was hurtful when I realized that not only did I have those issues with my dad and the abandonment and the rejection that I always felt and that I still have to battle, because sometimes it'll still creep in and try to sabotage me or situations or even friendships, relationships with people. But God had to show me that not only did I have those issues with my dad, I had those issues with my mom. Not her physical abandonment or rejection of me, but her emotional abandonment. Now, did she reject me? No, I don't feel like she rejected me, but I did feel emotionally abandoned, but I didn't know that until I was an adult in my 30s. And so I went into therapy again, found another Christian counselor, and said, this isn't normal. And y'all, again, I love my mother. I felt like a horrible daughter because I felt that way. Like when you're a little kid, you say, I don't know if you ever said it to your parents. I don't remember saying it to my mother. I don't like you. I don't like you. I'm gonna go live with so-and-so. But I didn't like my mother. And I never said that to her, but I didn't like her. And I didn't like what I thought was passiveness. I didn't like what I thought was weakness. I didn't like that I thought she allowed herself to be a doormat for someone who didn't want her. And I didn't want to be that person. So I was rebelling in a sense against everything that I thought she was. And so through therapy, I realized that my mother had this strength. And I can't tell you where that came from other than God, but strength to get up every day, to make sure that my sister and I were cared for, that we were clean and our hair done and fed before we went to school. Strength to come home after standing on her feet 9 or 10 hours and make sure we were fed and that, she helped us with our homework. Strength to nurse us back to health when we weren't feeling well, strength to make sure she could provide and give us gifts, when the father was absent from the home. And so I knew then in that realization that my mother was someone that I should aspire to be like. But y'all, I don't think I could have come to that realization had it not been for therapy. And so even now, like having gone through those two therapists and my current one, I am very protective of my mental health. I am very protective of boundaries. I do not accept responsibility for anybody else's issues or challenges. Because I have to always keep my mental health at the forefront. Like, is taking on your issue gonna impact my mental well-being, my mental health, and how is it gonna impact my mental health? How can I help you, or how can I redirect you in a way that you can take care of yourself, your mental well-being as well? And so I guess all this to say, therapy is not a dirty word, y'all. Black people need therapy. Our community, in our community, there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of dysfunction. And a lot of these things are, I guess, generational curses. They go back many, 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 many generations. And at some point, the cycle has to stop. And I made a decision for myself that the cycle stops with me. Now, I don't have children, but I certainly try to instill that in young people that I meet, instill that in my young family members, because I want to be productive in society. I want to be well. I want to be whole. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. And I choose every day when I get up, that I choose happiness. I choose joy. I've told y'all this before. I choose to be happy. I don't wake up miserable. And I'm telling you, if I'm miserable or if I'm having a bad day, you ain't going to see me, because I'm going to be by myself, because I don't want to impose or burden anyone else with that. Now, does that mean I don't ever talk to people? That's not true. That's not even what I'm saying. I talk to my girlfriends. I talk to God. I write in my journal when I need to process. But my therapist also helps me process through my feelings. Like, why are you feeling this way? And maybe you figure out what's contributing to my feeling a certain way. So, again, this is a really tough topic. It's a tough topic for the Black community, but it's necessary. And again, I don't have a license. I'm not professionally trained as a therapist. I'm just encouraging you to talk to someone for your mental well-being. Begin to take care of your mental health. And I'll see you next time at Red Bone and Rice. Have a good evening.